Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my week number 2 tight end start or sit decisions through every single matchup on the week from Thursday Night Football all the way up until Monday Night Football. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 2 tight end start or sit decisions for the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with the first matchup of the week. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Now, this is a matchup that is very simple in terms of the tight end position. Jonnu Smith had minimal usage as well as involvement in the offense in week 1 up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. While I do believe that there are better days ahead for Jonnu Smith, as this was just his first game with the Dolphins in a new offense, but until I see more positive signs, I think starting Jonnu Smith would be foolish, and I think Jonnu Smith belongs on the waiver wire for the Buffalo Bills. Kincaid was just like basically every other tight end that you paid super high fantasy football draft capital for, because he was a straight up bust, a terrible game in week number 1. Just 1 reception for 11 yards on 2 targets in a very solid plus matchup up against the Arizona Cardinals defense. But I am going to just assume that he kind of shakes the monkey off of his back in week number 2 and has a much better showing up against the Dolphins. I had very high beliefs. I had some hopes on Dalton Kincaid all offseason long, and that's not going to change after 1 down game. I won't let last week get me down. He should be a top 8 tight end minimum this week and is a must start tight end. Moving now to the Sunday slate, beginning with the New Orleans Saints at the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is a game where the Saints will be utilizing multiple tight ends. Taysom Hill's usage is truly mind-boggling. They will hand the ball to the dude, then they will have him throw a pass, and then the next play, they'll throw a goal line fade his way. It is very, very crazy to watch. Now, that didn't all technically happen in that game, but he did get a handoff, and they did throw a goal line fade to him. To me, he's a very high-risk, very high-reward play. If you want to have a guy that has the potential to score 20-plus points that may be available off the waiver wire, then Taysom Hill is your guy. But if you want a guy that's a little bit safer, playing Taysom Hill is the exact opposite of that, because the guy is as unsafe as it gets. Juwan Johnson, another tight end on the team, had 2 receptions on 3 targets for 26 yards and a touchdown, but he was actually the second highest scoring tight end on the team, as Las Vegas Raiders legend Foster Moreau was the tight end 2 on the week. Feels like if you want a high risk, high reward play, you should just play Taysom Hill and leave alone Juwan Johnson. I don't really want to touch him. Luke Schoonmaker should be the starting tight end for the Cowboys, as Jake Ferguson did not practice on Wednesday with a knee injury he suffered up against the Browns. While I am as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, I think his odds of playing, his shot of playing this week is very, very slim. And even if he does play, miraculously, he suits up. You really want to play him after that injury in his first game back. I would definitely not even consider starting him. His involvement, I don't think, will be super high. Schoonmaker is a very sick name. It sounds like a fucking gamer tag you would make in middle school on Xbox, but ultimately, I am not going to be starting him up against the Saints. Next up, we move to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. While the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the Commanders screaming fucking uncle in that game, they ran a train on the Commanders. Otten had just 2 targets. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen here in Tampa. They've got McMillan. They have Mike Evans. They have Chris Godwin. They have Rashad White. And it kind of just feels like Otten's going to end up being the odd man out. Sam Laporta had a letdown game. He was another one of those tight ends that we drafted super highly and just didn't have a great game. 4 receptions on 5 targets on Sunday Night Football for 45 yards. but ultimately he's one of the best tight ends in the league, so you don't want to have a full-on fucking panic attack thinking Sam Laporta is now dust. Start him with supreme confidence in a great matchup as a top 3 tight end. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Green Bay Packers. Now, Kylan Granson and my boy, Mo Money, Mo Cox, Mo Alley Cox will split the workload at tight end. To keep things short and simple, Richardson doesn't really focus in on a tight end. So even if you just combined Granson and Mo Alley Cox's stats together, you probably wouldn't get a start-worthy tight end a majority of the week. So with them splitting the workload, neither guy should be considered, and they should both be on waivers. Tucker Kraft, mac and cheese, was the clear, undisputed starting tight end in week 1 for the Packers over Luke Musgrave as the tight end number 1. Kraft looked solid, but with Jordan Love now out for the next couple of weeks, you would have to be on meth. You'd have to be snorting coke, fucking huffing gasoline to play Tucker Kraft. That would be absolutely insane with Malik Willis under center. Next up, we got the New York Jumbo Jets at the LA Titans. Now, Chig Okonkwo ended up finding the end zone. He got a map. He moseyed his way on in there up against the Chicago Bears on one of his 2 targets. With Levis looking like fucking Stevie Wonder out there trying to read a defense, I don't have an ounce of confidence in Chig, considering they want to use other tight ends as well. He only played in 59% of the snaps because Josh Wiley and Nick Vannett were getting work as well. He is a clear sit. Tyler Conklin is a bottom of the barrel start. If you're down bad at tight end, you're dealing with some injuries, you can start him. The matchup should be good, assuming, and sometimes assuming makes an ass out of you and me, Rodgers wakes up here and they have a dominant showing, which I believe will be the case. Conklin should be fine, but this is definitely far from an ideal scenario. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the cold like Minnesota Vikings. Now, for the Vikings, Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver share the load on the tight end room. Pause, right? Sharing the load. Get it? Last week, they did that, and I expect to see something similar until TJ Hawkinson returns, or unless one of them was to get hurt. Knock on wood, we don't root for injuries. With that said, even if one of them was a 70+% snap guy, I wouldn't start them. Munt or Oliver should not even be rostered. George Kittle me Timbers had a rare middling performance. Normally, Kittle is either one of the top 3 tight ends, absolutely slaughtering Jeffrey Dahmer style the defense, or he has like 1 to 3 fucking fantasy points, and you're crying yourself to sleep because you started George Kittle. Last week, he had 4 receptions on 5 targets for 40 yards as the tight end 10. Due to his upside, he is a must-start tight end every single week, as he could easily rip off multiple touchdowns up against the Vikings this week. Next up, we move to the Seahawks, going up against the New England Deflatriots. Hunter Henry is a guy that if the Patriots were to bench Jacoby Brissett and throw in Drake May, I really think he could become a reliable fantasy option. Why? Because Jacoby Brissett isn't good, and because the weapons around Hunter Henry are very, very, very suspect. But until they make that change, there's really no reason to play Hunter Henry. I think that Noah Fant for the Seahawks is actually good enough. He's a very talented tight end, very good, to become a viable fantasy football option at the tight end position. But as of right now, in a matchup I don't necessarily think is the best, and in a loaded to the gills wide receiver room, I would just stay away from Noah Fant for now. Next up, we got the New York Football Giants going up against the left hands up. Who are we? The Commanders, in what I have dubbed as the Battle of Daniels. Jaden Stormy Daniels versus Daniel Jones. Now, Theo Johnson is the clear number 1 tight end on the Giants over Daniel Bellinger. But when push comes to shove, even if Theo Johnson was Kelsey, the second coming of Kelsey, he's the second coming of Rob Gronkowski, he's the next Shannon Sharp. Shout out Shannon Sharp, who's getting busy today. If you know, you know. But, man, even if he was that next great tight end, the Sam Laporta, right? There is no way in hell I'm starting him. Why? Because Daniel Jones fucking sucks. So there's no reason to play Theo Jones. Theo Johnson. And since Theo Johnson isn't even remotely close to the talent of a guy like Gronk, you can't get anywhere close to him. Zach Ertz will be a start. Now, Ben Sinnot's a guy that I think could end up breaking out maybe towards the end of the year, kind of like Trey McBride did last year, right, where Zach Ertz gets hurt and magically Trey McBride is elevated. Same thing could happen here with Ben Sinnot, but he only played 22% of the snaps and didn't see a single target in Tampa. Ertz is the clear numero uno tight end, at least for right now, and with this matchup being more beautiful than Alexis Demi in Euphoria, you can fire up Ertz as a high upside tight end. Now, is the safety there, right? Does it feel like Ertz is wrapping a rubber around your squad? Of course not. And he won't even be close to touching the top 12 at the tight end position in terms of my rankings, but he certainly can finish there due to the matchup up against the Giants. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Superchargers at the Carolina Panthers. If you guys have enjoyed today's video thus far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Hit that like button as well. It would help me out a ton. And leave a comment. I try to answer as many comments as possible. So the Chargers use that workload share, right? They got Hurts and they got Will Dissly, and neither of them had a huge involvement in the offense. While if you had to guess who would be the tight end one in terms of snaps, it would be Hurst, which is why he's listed as the tight end on your screen, not Will Dissly, but it's not by this gigantic margin. Hurst is a perfectly competent NFL tight end. But in terms of fantasy football, with how much the Chargers run the rock, you cannot be starting Hayden Hurst, and he should be on waivers. Jatavion Sanders, Colonel Sanders, I don't give a damn. I am not starting a single fucking player on this disgrace of a football team. I get so excited all summer to watch football, and then you get treated to some bullshit like the Carolina Panthers, and it makes you want to go outside and actually touch grass for once. Next up, we move to the Cleveland Browns at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Evan Ingram, after being touted all summer long as one of the safest tight ends in fantasy football, Evan Ingram hit you with a right hook from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and I was down for the count. It sucked. 1 reception on 4 targets for 5 yards. But again, week 1 is a liar. You don't want to panic after 1 down game. He should bounce back easily up against the Cleveland Browns, so I'm not worrying at all, and I would have him ranked as a top 8 tight end. David Njoku probably not going to play, so Jordan Akins, if his name's Akins, I think that's the same name as the snake in Pokemon, so shout out to that. Texans legend Akins, good start in this game. That's cool. Good for him. But with that bastard Deshaun Watson under center, I'm not even going to waste a bunch of time extrapolating about, like if Deshaun Watson was good, you might be like, ooh, Jordan Akins. That sounds fun. Because Jordan Akins is decent enough to have a good game. But with Deshaun Watson under center, what's the hope? There really isn't any. Next up, we move to the Las Vegas Raiders, the final game before we get to the late slate, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Brock Bowers, in his first ever game, the man boomed all over the defense, all over the Chargers. Costco guy style, fucking had a chicken bake and a double chunk chocolate cookie on the ass, right? 6 receptions on 8 targets for 58 yards as the tight end numero 3. He has been dealing with a foot injury, so his week 1 production was very promising. Going forward, he feels like a safe bet because we talked about how the team wants to get him involved, and they did. Now, obviously, being on the Raiders isn't the best. Being with Gardner Minshew as your quarterback isn't the best, but if he can continue to get 6+ targets a game, then he should be fine. He's a safe bet to be top 12, but his upside is capped heavily by the offense that he is in. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are both starts. Now, I have them listed on the screen in terms of their ranking. I would rank Mark Andrews ahead of Isaiah Likely. Now, everyone loves to be all doom and gloom about players, right? Andrews shit the bed against the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, so he's fucked. That's what people think. They think, hey, it's over for Mark Andrews. 2 catches for 14 yards. I'm not worried. Why? Because I still think he's the tight end 1 on the team. Not likely. And I believe that the reason why he wasn't successful was because the game plan for the Chiefs was to lock down and bracket Mark Andrews. So many plays when you watch the All-22 show the defense surrounding Andrews. Like the Secret Service. They basically said, Zay Flowers beat me. Isaiah Likely beat me. Rashad Bateman beat me. But you want to know who's not going to beat us? Mark Andrews. So Mark Andrews was fucking doubled, tripled, quadrupled, while Isaiah Likely was having a fucking 5-star feast. So, was that the most promising thing for Andrews? Fuck no, baby. But I do think things are going to get a lot better, so I'm not panicking. While Andrews was down bad, Likely went ballistic. 9 receptions on 12 targets for 111 yards and a touchdown as the tight end won. It was a beautiful sight to behold. And if his foot was slightly smaller, he would have not just had 1 touchdown, he would have had 2, and they would have won the game. I will have Likely ranked behind Andrews, but it wouldn't surprise me if he outscores Andrews. Likely is clearly too good to keep off the field, and I love this matchup up against the Raiders. Next game, we get the beginning of the late slate. This week, we only have 1, 2, 3 games on the late slate. I don't know why the NFL does this. I complained about in the last video. It is super lame, in my opinion, to have so many games early, and then you get fed fucking Steelers versus Broncos. And, like, I get the Rams versus the Cardinals is a good game, and the Bengals and Chiefs on paper is a good game, but it just sucks because it's so fun early on, and then you basically get your salad tossed by the fact that the NFL doesn't like having a lot of late games. So the Rams at the Cardinals. Colby Parkinson is going to leave the Cardinals shaking, as the defense will have 0 answer for him. I get what you might be thinking. Nick, Dalton Kincaid didn't have a great game up against the Cardinals defense last week, but I really do believe that the Cardinals defense is straight ass like Nicole Aniston, and I really do believe that Parkinson will end up finishing inside the top 12. He was a top 8 tight end last week, and I think he's going to be able to repeat it up against the Cards, especially because Puka Nacua is out. Trey McBride didn't have a great showing up against the Bills. Now, it wasn't so bad like some of those other tight ends like Andrews, right? He played 85% of the snaps, led the team in targets, 9 targets in that game, 5 receptions for 30 yards. I loved McBride all summer, and I'm not going to hop off the wagon yet. He'll be a top 3 tight end for me on the week up against the Rams. Next up, we move to the Pittsburgh Steelers, going up against the Denver Broncos. But first, before we break down this game and the rest of the games on the slate at the tight end position, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Now, if you are new to Underdog Fantasy and sign up with code Notorious, you'll be able to claim your free pick like Josh Allen higher than half a total yard, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. If you're watching this after Thursday, Josh Allen already played, then you'll be able to get a different free pick that is very similar to Josh Allen, higher than half of a total yard. If you are new to Underdog Fantasy and don't know how it works, all you have to do is match one pick, your free pick, Josh Allen higher than half a total yard, with a player from the Dolphins or one of the players from Sunday Night Football, or Monday Night Football, and if they both hit, you'll receive 3 times your entry fee. So make sure you guys check out Underdog Fantasy, link in the video description, or promo code Notorious. So with the Steelers versus the Broncos, I've been a bit hard on Bo Nix. It wasn't terrible, right? He wasn't trash. Didn't look great, though. And now he plays up against another tough defense, going from Seattle now to the Steelers. I think Dulcich could end up being sneaky good late on in the season, but with the early production out of Bo Nix, he should be on your bench or on the waiver wire. Pat Freiermuth went 4 for 4 like he was at Wendy's for 27 yards last week up against the Atlanta Falcons. Much better matchup this week, though, up against the Broncos. If his target share continues to ramp up, Freiermuth has the skills to become a must-start tight end weekly, but as of right now, he's just a high-end tight end number 2. Next up, we move to a glorious matchup, which would have been my matchup of the week if Joe Burrow didn't look bad last week. It is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Likiamagasiki had a touchdown stolen from him by the replay review, as they said he didn't complete the catch, but I believe that to be fake news. I think he scored that touchdown, but hey, he doesn't get the touchdown, but he got 4 targets in that game, which is great. But until Joe Shiesty figures out, what the fuck to do, you're getting a little bit too optimistic. If you start Gesicki, Travis Kelce, hit us with the Mortal Kombat finisher. He hit us with the fucking Hadouken. He grabbed our heart out of our chest and ate it, right? 3 receptions on 4 targets for 34 yards. Go ahead and get your Kelce is a bum victory laps out in the comment section. I faded Travis Kelce because Taylor Swift has turned him into a fucking pussy or whatever people say, right? I'm not worried. I am not worried at all. I think Travis Kelce is going to explode like Mount Vesuvius or like Mount Tamora back in the 1800s. I am still rocking with Mr. Pfizer himself. Do not panic. Top five. Tight end on the week. Next up, we got the Chicago Bears at the Houston Texans on cue the Carrie Underwood music. Cause you waited all day for Sunday night. Great game on paper. Probably won't be so great of a game, though. The Bears' offense looks trash. They look terrible, and there is no way you want to play Kmet right now. Now, he should see more usage than last week, as Adunze is likely out, and he only had Uno target last week. Really won't matter, though, if the offense is ice cold. Until something changes, you can't play Kmet. Schultz did not practice today for the Texans with an ankle injury, which is something you want to monitor. Obviously, if he doesn't play, you can't start him. If he misses, we should see Brevin Jordan lock in as the tight end number 1. Assuming that Dalton Schultz plays, he's a boomer bust tight end. Due to the upside of the offense, he could have that big boom game, or you could have a down game because of how many weapons there are there. I've got him as a mid-tier 2 tight end, but his floor is incredibly low due to the amount of other guys on the team. Final game here, Monday Night Football, the Hotlanta Falcons going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, the battle of the birds. Kyle Pitts was saved up against the Steelers. His day was saved by that touchdown, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 26 yards and a tug, tight end 4. Again, the tight end production was shit last week. But with touchdowns being far and few in between in the career of Kyle Pitts, that was very promising. The Falcons offense had no rhythm, like that song from the Phineas and Ferb series, because he ain't got rhythm. If you're young like me, as if I'm young, if you were around my age, I guess I'm 25, maybe you got that reference, but no rhythm. I expect better days ahead, but I won't rank him inside the top 5 tight ends this week because of how Cousins looked. He should be a top 10 tight end on the week, and you're definitely not going to sit him based upon where you drafted him. Dallas Goedert's going to be a start as well. Kellen Moore had Goedert very involved in this offense. 5 for 5 for 31 yards. He will never really be like an 8+ target guy due to just how many dudes are on this offense, but if he does see 5 targets again, he should be just a fine start. If he scores, you'll be very happy. If not, he'll be okay. Against the Falcons defense, I like him as a top 12 options. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below while you're down there. Whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. It would help me out a ton. Make sure you guys check out Underdog Fantasy on the screen right now. Promo code Notorious to claim your free pick, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I love you guys all so much. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy!